Alright, today we're going to make a little bit of kronk. We got some water boiling in the background. There's a jar, a liter jar. It's going to be filled with kronk. This is how we're getting started out, just a globule of honey. This here, guarana seed powder. Guarana seed powder, you can get it at the light store. It's grounded up seeds of a plant that's fairly similar to the yerba plant in South America. Has a very high concentration of caffeine, roughly 2.5 times the size of coffee. So we're going to obviously put a lot of that in our prospective potion. Yeah. Look at that pour. That should be good. That's a pile. It's a solid pile. You drink in powder, it's pretty harsh on the throat, but that's okay because we don't care about the pleasure of the drink, we just care about the effects. Phase 2, the privileged kid milk frother. We're going to get some almond milk. Just gonna put that in the milk frother, just like so. Glug 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 glug. Glug. Put that in the middle. There's sanding going on in the background. Let's see if my voice even comes through here. Here comes the coffee component of the kronk. Basically just want to take full on scoopful. 1, 2, and then 3. Because it's only supposed to fit 2, but because we embody the American spirit, we're going to go big, go home. And the grinding component of it simply takes 11 seconds, basically until it's a thin, almost kind of like all stuck together. Alright, we dumped the coffee right into the coffee filter. This is a little ceramic piece that holds the coffee filter in place while you pour your water. Here we have a bunch of coffee still stuck on the inside. Very important part, you want to get all of that coffee no matter what, because all of that is potentially psychoactive material. But make sure that it's unplugged, otherwise you could take your damn finger off because that shit spins at like a million, billion, kajillion, billion per second. Up here we're going to start on phase 2 of the kronk. We have our second boiling station right here. Because when you're a true kronk aficionado, you have more than one boiling station, as you just saw the one in the kitchen. This is the one in the bedroom. Here we're going to get the tea component of the kronk going. We got some holy basil, got some heather flowers, got some ancient forest black tea, and we got a mix here. I actually decided to combine them. This is the Laotian green tea I got in Luang Prabang. It's Laotian script there, but inside is gunpowder green tea as well. It's kind of mixed half and half. They're both green teas. They're both very strong, but they're both different kinds of strong. Gunpowder is more of a, hit you in the face kind of instant dose of caffeine. And then the Laotian green tea is more like it lasts a lot longer. So I got a jar here. We're gonna just start pouring a shit ton of herbs mindlessly into the jar. It's going to be kind of difficult with the... Yeah, that's the stuff. Look at that pour. That's where the action is. See, look at this. Look at this. Just a pile. Just a pile. You're not even caring about when the bag's going to run out, because the bags never run out. They never run out. You always have the priority of the kronk to, replace herbs like so unconsciously that it feels like you're just in a constant herbal heaven. Splice that with the ancient forest, like so. That's the black tea. It's more cranial. Black teas are always more cranial in my opinion. Then gonna add a little bit of holy basil, a little bit of heather flowers. Here we also got some licorice root. I'm kind of debating against licorice root today. That's the thing about kronk. You never have like a single you know, a single recipe to make true kronk. Sometimes, some days you feel certain herbs, other days you don't. Just a little bit of holy basil today, for example. Because you don't want the flavor overpowering, because this is going to be eventually combined, right? You don't want the flavor overpowering the overall potion, but it does provide some nice stabilizing effects, so your mind isn't just totally 60 different kinds of caffeine at once. Same goes for the heather flowers. Beautiful heather flowers. Nice purple color. They're just aesthetically pleasing to look at. When you look at it, you're just like, damn, I want to drink it. And supposedly they have a small amount of dimethyltryptamine in it. Dimethyltryptamine, probably lower than 2%. Not enough to cross the blood-brain barrier, but that should be a solid pile of herbs right there in a jar. I think this is a 1.5 liter jar. That's a lot. That's a good chunk. That's a good chunk. Over there we got our tea. We're almost boiling. Back at station 1 there. Our coffee's already finished boiling. There's an important part to pouring the coffee in the kronk world that basically says that you can't shock all the coffee beans. And watch this. I'm going to go very, very slow. Very slow. Very slow. A little dribble. So long as it has the momentum. And then you're just going to slowly pour it over every tiny little bean. Every tiny little bean, and allow the liquid in the filter to fill up slowly but surely. Because the little hole on the bottom, it's gonna still build. If you like pouring this slowly, it's still gonna build faster than it's expounding. So like I said, every bean, even across the corners, every bean, a nice balanced pour, because you don't want to shock it. You don't want to shock it. You don't want to get just the crude alkaloids and then leave all the really tiny specific parts out to, you know, rot in the compost bin. See how it's filling up there? That's nice, that's good. I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but you always want to use filtered water before you throw it. You don't want to just use tap water before you boil it. Makes that water extra pure. And we're just going to wait for that to filter out. Upstairs, here's the boiled water from station 2. We're going to fill, I think, at least probably 75% of the jar. Probably about 75% of the jar, but maybe even the whole thing. Because we got to think about, you know, how this tea is going to taste. How this tea is going to be like combining with, you know, the other component of our kronk. The other component of our kronk, which is, you know, the coffee. And, you know, that's going to be, you also want to pour enough water to cover the entire pile of herbage at the very bottom. So right here you can see a shitload of herbs. You always want to go, like, use way too much herbs. Way too many herbs is way better than, you know, just a small amount. You never want to go under, because then you just wasted your time. This is definitely going to get you going. Look at that beautiful color. Look at how thick that herb meat is at the top. That's exactly what you're going for right there. This is how you know you've been successful so far. Right, our second pour of coffee is about to take place, as our first pour is already filtered through there. This time you don't need as much water, but still try and pour it the same way as you did the first time. Try and get all the excess off the sides there. Remember, it's still Valley coffee. Still want to be able to use as much of this as possible. Gotta think, you know, farmhands in Africa, they didn't spend 20 hours a day picking coffee beans just for you to waste it all, you know. You want to use every last bit of it. A lot of people forget that there's a lot of labor, a lot of economics behind this bean. You gotta appreciate it, you gotta respect it, and you gotta think about that while you're drinking it. Into the bottom of the filter here, second pour. Almost filled right to the top, almost a liter, not quite, but so we still have, you know, room for the next ingredients, but I wanted to show you, you know, you just want to take this in the ceramic holder. Just squeeze it out, see all that excess liquid there coming. You want to squeeze it out, all the stuff at the very bottom is usually going to be the strongest, so want to just kind of squeeze through all of that excess moisture. It doesn't matter if your hands get a little hot, just make sure that you don't burn them. Pull them away, you know, if you feel like you're in danger. That should be good. You know that anyone asks anyone who puts butter in their coffee is, why do you put butter in your coffee? It's a pretty stupid thing to do, right? Well, the answer is simple. It's that people who put butter in their coffee do it because butter acts kind of as a vasodilator. It's a very concentrated fat, and it expands blood vessels, which means that when a drink's as psychoactive as this, you can actually get more of these psychoactive alkaloids across the blood-brain barrier because your actual vessels are expanding. So if you're drinking this, you just got to make sure and feel like, you know, your blood vessels are expanding so you can get more of that dank goodness to your brain. Of course, here is the almond milk. Almond milk always just kind of adds, you know, a nice touch to it, a nice feel to it. Don't want to use it all. I just always put in an excess, but just want to kind of leave it to the very end so your drink doesn't become overwhelmed with almond milk. You already did the 2 coffee bean brews. Very nice. Last part of Kronk, of course, this is optional, but you can also add cayenne pepper. Same kind of thing. Stimulates the digestion, you know, gets those fabrics in the stomach working pretty well. And if you usually put this into your coffee or whatever, it'll still make it slightly stronger, slightly more psychoactive. I'm not going to use it today because I have a massive canker sore, and cayenne pepper will just make that horrible, make it screaming bad. But yeah, you definitely want to consider this at least when you're finishing up your Kronk. Alright, this here is the final step of the Kronk. We've had these steeping for about 2 hours. We wanted to keep the initial brew of the tea steeping for 2 hours. The coffee doesn't really matter, but the tea here you want to have immersed in hot water for at least 2 hours just so you can get the maximum effects out of it. You can see it's a little milk colored. It's because I used the excess of the almond milk in it. And we have but one thing left to do. We have our ultra container here, smoothie container. It's going to contain up to, I think, a little over 2 liters of Kronk here. So here you want to see that. You want to kind of get it into the strainer. You don't want to drink tea during your Kronk because you want the tea leaves to be used after for a second brew. There's the strainer. There's the blender filling up with Kronk. Good. Oh, it's a lot of liquid. It's a lot. Perfect. Then we got most of the leaf in there. That's going to go back and get rebrewed a second time. And the second brew is going to be about 24 hours rather than 2. And here is the coffee with the powder and everything. Same exact idea, just want them evenly mixed. And there you have it. There you have it. This is the final product. And ultimately all you want to do is just work on that. You'll be good.